see a maze. Madam is struggling through a maze.
A maze?
Sure, baby. Maze. That's the Indian word for corn.
Steve, you promised to wait outside. Please go on, Mr. Oliver. Pretend my husband isn't here.
It's difficult to ignore the presence of hostile vibrations.
I'll make it easy on you. Come on, Peg, let's get out of here.
Steve, you promised me.
I promised to put up with your stupid fascination, but not forever. You hang on every phony word that comes out of his mouth. Live by it. Now, I say enough.
Please tell him, Mr. Oliver. Make him understand.
Don't waste your abracadabra on me, pal.
Where there is anger, there is fear.
Oh, Peg, for crying out loud.
Fear of the future is fear of the past. I see tragedy, death. Very close to you, madam.
Peg?
The past, Mr. Oliver?
A man from the past. A man who was very important to you.
Cut it out, mister. That's not funny.
A man whom you will hate, whom you will try to destroy. But you will only force him to destroy you.
Oh, sure. Don't quit now, Buster. At these prices, you can throw the man's name in, can't you?
Please, Steve, I'm frightened.
Of course you are. That's his angle. Keeps scaring you so you'll cough up his rent every week. You disappoint me, boy. I thought you'd come up with something more mysterious than a man named X.
The man is beginning to emerge. You will meet him soon. There will be violence. He will kill you.
No.
Oh, Peg, don't be a child. Why would anybody want to kill me?
The reasons are in the past. Mrs. Braddock knows them. Perhaps you know them too. The man's name is Willie Dante.
Same, bartender.
The same what?
No, you see? You've forgotten me already. That's how my face affects people. Turn your back and it vanishes. You're looking at the most forgettable character that you'll ever meet.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, Mr.
Pollock. Jason Pollock. Just to give you an idea how bad it is, 10 years I've been living in the same apartment house. And the elevator boy still asks me what floor I want to get off at. 10 years.
Think of that.
If I only had a mole or a birthmark or a distinguishing feature on the end of my nose even, I wouldn't care.
That'd help.
Nah, who am I kidding? It would just be the same old story. You know what they'd say then? The mole is familiar, but I can't place the face.
Did you say your name was Braddock?
Just tell him it's Miss Cotton of 1953.
May I say that 1953 must have been a vintage year for cotton?
Yes, Stu. Who? Miss Cotton? Oh, hang on a second. Peggy Remington, after all these years. Stu? Sure. Tell her I'll be right down.
Hello, Willie. I was afraid you'd forgotten.
Well, I don't have that many good things to remember. A long time, Peg.
The years have added a Mrs. to my name.
Well, good for you.
Yes, it has been. Willie, is there, any place we can talk in private?
Oh, sure. My office. Sit down, Peg. Cigarette?
Thank you.
Now, what can I do for you?
Willie, is there any reason why you'd want to kill my husband, Stephen Braddock?
Who needs a reason? My last 6 victims were total strangers.
I'm serious. This isn't a joke.
Well, I've never even met your husband. To me, Stephen Braddock is just a name in the financial section.
Why would Mr. Oliver make that prediction?
Who?
Mr. Oliver, he's a astrologer that I've been consulting. He told us that you were going to murder Steve.
Murder? Your husband's not taking it seriously.
You don't know my husband. He's a very jealous man.
But why of me?
Well, he knows about New Orleans, Willie, and about us.
Well, Peg, that was 8 years ago. There's such a thing as a statute of limitations, you know.
Yes, I know. I told him about us, Willie. I told him that I was just a silly kid with a crush and that, well, that you ended it before I had a chance to make a fool out of myself.
Well, that's about the way it was, Peg. I can't say that I blame him for being jealous. He obviously knows he has a good thing and he wants to hang on to it. But the next time you see him, you tell him from me that I hope he has a long and a healthy life.
I guess I should have known that you'd feel that way. Just feels good to hear you say it.
So, just scratch that prophecy, right?
It's scratched. I guess Steve was right about Mr. Oliver.
Excuse me.
There's a gentleman here to see you, a Mr. Braddock. Can you spare a moment?
Hold on. Your husband just walked in.
Oh, no, Willie. He mustn't know that I'm here.
Why not? Didn't he know you came to see me?
No, why, Willie, he's an insanely jealous man. I told him I was going for a dress fitting.
At 11 o'clock at night? Stu, ask Mr. Braddock to wait for me at the bar, will you?
Well, I had to tell him something. I couldn't let him know I was going to see you.
Oh, well, the story as bad as that, no wonder you didn't convince him. Now, look, there's a back exit out of here. It goes into an alley. I don't know how fast you can get home, but I'll stall him here as long as I can.
Mr. Dante will join you in a moment.
What'll it be, sir?
Brandy, make it double.
Hey, you know, I've been thinking about what you were telling me about the difference between me and Willie. Well, the way he operates with a chick, it ain't art. It's genius. Believe me.
Mr. Braddock, Willie Dante. Hope I didn't tear you away from anything. Nothing that can't wait. Buy you a drink, Danny? According to Dun and Bradstreet, you could buy me Alaska if you wanted to, but I'll settle for a cup of coffee. We have a mutual acquaintance, I believe. My wife. Nope. You're the only Braddock I've met lately. Maybe you know her better as Peggy Remington? Oh, sure. Oh, that goes a long way back, but congratulations. Allow me to buy you a drink. Stacks up the years, he leaves a lot of unfinished business behind. And now and then he gets a twinge and wishes he could turn back the calendar. You know what I mean? Am I supposed to? Any husband resents the men in his wife's past. There's nothing he can do about it. The men in their present, though, that's something else. Anything between Peggy and me ended 8 years ago. Ended for good. Well, that's what I wish to hear. This will sound crazy, you see, but there's this fortune teller she's been seeing, and...
Mr. Braddock.
Hennessy, what is it? My chauffeur, excuse me.
Hey, Willie, I want to show you something.
What's that? Tell me my chauffeur was lying, Dante. Tell me you never saw my wife ducking out the back. Go ahead, tell me. That's all right, let him go. I'm going to forget about this, Braddock, because I can see where you put 2 and 2 together and came up with 5. But now you better get out of here. Another time, another place, Dante. I'm not through with you yet.
Well, it's all right, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing to worry about. They were just rehearsing for the floor show.
Hey, Willie, you ain't gonna let him get away with that, are you?
Any outraged husband is entitled to at least one free swing in any man's ballpark.
He doesn't look to me to be the kind of husband who would settle for one.
He will after I pay a visit to a certain Mr. Oliver.
You know what time it is. What do you want?
The name's Dante. Does that give you a clue?
Oh, no, just a minute. You haven't any right to break
I've
in.
got a right, all right. Why me? Out of 1 million people in this town, why did you pick on me?
Well, the messages of the spheres are not always understandable to men.
All right, now, come on, level with me. You told Braddock and his wife that I was going to kill him. Why?
I can foresee the future. I cannot explain it.
Suppose, we discuss your future for a change. Now, I'm no clairvoyant, but I predict that tomorrow you'll be sipping chicken soup through a straw unless you come up with a few answers tonight. Now, one more time. What made you choose me?
$10,000.
$10,000?
Mm-hmm. Mrs. Braddock is worth $10,000 a year to me. Would you, in my place, forfeit such a sum without a fight?
Go on.
Her husband doesn't like me. I defend myself with the only weapons I understand. The problem is quite elementary. I must turn husband against wife, wife against husband.
How does it advance your cause to tell Braddock and his wife that I'm going to kill him?
The man is like a wind-up doll. You just point him in the right direction and let him go. I planted the thorn of a thought. The more he scratches, the more it becomes inflamed. In a few days, a week at the most, his marriage will be in ruins.
I still don't see where I come into the act.
Well, the past is grandparent to the future. Mrs. Braddock mentioned you repeatedly. Apparently, you made quite an impression. Now, in my business, we never throw anything away, Mr. Dante.
She's not going to like this.
She's not going to know. I told you because you threatened me with violence. Repeat one word and I'll deny it. Given a choice, she'll take my word against yours.
If something should happen to Braddock, and I was unfortunate enough not to have an alibi,
the resultant publicity would make me quite a celebrity. Yes, that same thought had already occurred to me.
Come right on in, Willie. You're just the man I want to see.
thanks, Lieutenant, but why?
Attempted murder. Person or persons unknown.
Which attempted murder did you have in mind?
Someone sabotaged the brakes on Mr. Braddock's car, but the chauffeur discovered it in time. First you've heard of this, Willie?
For a fact, yes. You're a liar, Dante. Nobody else had a motive.
What do you say to that, Willie?
Don't tell me the police department believes in fortune tellers, too.
We're discussing motives, not metaphysics. Witnesses saw Braddock belt you last night. You never were one to turn the other cheek.
Well, I've got a nightclub to run.
So?
Any entertainment we have, we book in advance.
Then you were going to let the entire incident pass.
If I knocked off everybody who took a swing at me, I'd empty the streets.
This is different. Let's face it, Mrs. Braddock would make an appealing widow. In fact, with the inheritance she'd come into, you might say she'd be irresistible.
I resent that, Lieutenant. Mr. Dante would have no basis for such a motive.
Money doesn't spoil, ma'am. Mr. Dandy's a professional gambler. Was. A man like that'll risk everything on a long shot, providing the stakes are sufficiently attractive.
You know, if you'd keep in touch with the department more often, Lieutenant, you'd find out that somebody tried to burn me this morning.
What time was that?
6 o'clock in front of my club, 2 shots from a moving car.
Kind of late to be out.
I had a good reason.
Was the good reason with you when this alleged ambush occurred?
No, I dropped her off before then.
Then there were no corroborating witnesses.
Well, there are 2 slugs in the front of my place that weren't there when I built it.
Which doesn't prove a thing.
What are you trying to do, Lieutenant? Get him to take another shot at me? Wait a minute. Are you accusing me? Well, I didn't come all the way out here to see how the other half lives. You see those trophies behind the bar? Every one is an award for marksmanship. When I take a shot at you, Dante, I won't miss.
Okay, let's talk facts.
The facts are obvious. By faking an attempt on his life, he's setting up the stage so he can murder me and plead self-defense.
I take it that pretty well sums up the charges you intended to level against Mr. Braddock?
That is correct, Lieutenant.
One of you's lying, but which one?
If you need any help, ask.
I will. Until I unwind this, I suggest you both maintain an extra special concern for the other's welfare. Because if anything happens to either one of you, I'm going to book the survivor for murder.
He's going to book the survivor for murder. Loper said that.
His exact words.
Well, that puts you and Braddock between a rock and a hard place. No matter whose nickel it is, it's going to come up lemons.
The more I study it, the less I like it. I can picture Braddock taking a shot at me. I can even see him dreaming up the business with the brakes. It's the sequence that bothers me.
Well, he had to set things up so he could cop a plea of self-defense.
Well, set it up first and then try to kill me. He didn't do that.
Maybe he wasn't thinking clearly. He was pretty shaken up at finding his wife here.
Yeah, if it wasn't for her, this whole thing wouldn't have happened. That Oliver built the bomb, but it was Mrs. Braddock who touched it off.
She would have saved us all a lot of trouble if she just phoned it in.
Well, Oliver can't lose. He's going to get his hooks into Braddock's money. Now, if Braddock dumps you, he gets a cyanide chamber. And if you erase him, you get the same thing. But Peggy winds up a wealthy widow.
That's it, Biff. That's the answer. You just pitched me the answer.
I did?
Yeah, but how it turns out is going to depend on you two. The way it is now, I'm sort of in the middle.
You must be crazy coming here at this hour. Now, what if Steve walked in?
He won't. He was called out on business. He won't be back for hours.
How did you know?
You know, honey, all you had to do was tell me if you wanted out.
Oh.
Well, the California divorce laws are very generous, but no judge awards the wife everything, whereas widowhood does.
Willie, what are you talking about?
Your little heart must have skipped a beat when Mr. Oliver made that prediction. He was very accommodating, wasn't he?
You must be out of your mind.
Honey, don't get me wrong. I'm with you. I still remember New Orleans, don't you?
Yes, Willie. I remember New Orleans. I remember you telling me how much fun it had been. But goodbye. I'll never forget that. I'll never stop hating you for it, so why don't you get out of here?
Okay. You want to make it straight business? That's all right with me. I know your play, Peg. Now, either you split 50-50 with me, or I'm going to see that you get nothing.
What's that for?
Well, there's still a matter of removing your husband. And since we don't want to lose me, we've got to find ourselves another patsy. My vote is for Mr. Oliver. He made the prediction. He stands to gain by your husband's death. Now, I'll get back to the club and establish an alibi while you take care of your husband. Hmm? Good girl.
I still don't see how this implicates Oliver.
Simple. After you take care of Braddock, then you call Oliver on the phone, tell him to come over here. Make sure you mention money, then he'll hurry. And then you call the police and tell them that he did it. Neat, huh?
Not really. I like my idea better.
Hey, be careful with
Then
that.
stand still, Willie. You know, Willie, it wasn't fate that planted your name in Oliver's mouth. I put the idea in his head. Time and time again, telling him how very jealous Steve is and what a wonderful romance you and I had.
Look, Peg.
And you know what? You're right. I do want to get rid of my husband. So I guess it's just a matter of killing two birds with one bullet. Right?
Peg, wait. Peg, is he...
You ought to know, Steve. You just killed him. At least that's what I'm going to tell the police. And you know what the lieutenant said.
You filth.
Stay away from me!
Have you seen enough? You don't think I'd put live bullets in that, do you?
Hey, Willie! Willie! Hey, Willie, we did our best to try to stop him, but he got a little rough with us, and...
Daddy, your boys tried to rough me up. It was a delaying action on my orders. I needed a little time to set the scene.
He recognized me from the club. That made him realize that you were in on it. And then this happened.
According to my synchronized watch, the guy got away a little too soon, that's all.
Give me the police.
Oh, Steve, no!
You think you'll deliver her?
In spades. Now, look, boys, when we get to the club, I want you to go in the back way.
The back way? Well, this is already all fault. We didn't do this just for a joke.
Wayne Rogers.
Oh, I'll have an extra dry martini and a twist of lemon.
Well, yes, but how did
Being
you
a
know?
steady customer, how could I forget?
I know, but...
Good evening, Mr. Pollock. It is Mr. Pollock, isn't it?
Paula? Yeah, that's my name, but how did you know? We've never met before.
I told Mr. Dante all about you, being one of our regular patrons.
I recognized you right away from Beth's description.
From his description? You recognize me from a description? Me?
Mr. Pollock,
Yes?
I have a table for you now, ringside. Will you please follow me?
He knew me. Did you hear that? He knew me. I have a dozen people at the bar, and he knew which one was me. It's magic.
Beth,
Yeah, Willie.
that is the fella, isn't it?